together is always completely anarchic. And depending on who joins us, we can just carry on for as long as we want to. What I suggest at 8 o'clock is we maybe have a 5 minute break, all go and get another cuppa, go to the loo, and then start again.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, lovely.
So I can see we're now live on YouTube with just 3 minutes to go until the Together Pop Up Poetry Club returns with a one off poetry cafe. We used to run the Together Pop Up Poetry Cafe once a month for about 2 years, and it included free food and drink. We always serve free refreshments, but on this occasion, of course, you have to provide your own, which is one of the things that actually makes it affordable. We originally had subsidy from People's Health Trust, and People's Health Trust gave us a grant that enabled us to run our pop up poetry group every Wednesday morning, but also to buy some books and some sound equipment and an induction loop. I'm just going to say to other people on the Zoom, it's worth muting your microphone if you're not going to speak, because otherwise we get quite a lot of noise on the people who are going to be reading their poems. Somebody's noise is coming through, I think, quite strongly on the background noise at the moment. Yeah, that's much better. So I'm not going to welcome people officially for another, just 2 minutes. Can I just check with a thumbs up, Chris? Can you see and hear everybody? Fantastic. And I can see that Julia from Global Real Time Captioning is with us, which is wonderful. If you're watching on YouTube, you just click on the captions, the CC, and you should, by a miracle of technology, be able to get the live captions directly from the Zoom. Those captions can have a slight delay, but on the other hand, so can the pictures. So we will keep our fingers crossed. The two meet up again on the way and arrive at an almost appropriate time. So we've just got 1 minute to go until the cafe officially begins. It's just fantastic tonight to be able to welcome guests from Survivors Poetry. Survivors Poetry is the longest running, internationally respected. I really can't say enough in praise of Survivors Poetry. They've been role models for us since we started our poetry project back in 2012. It's been a huge pleasure for me, as somebody who's not at all mobile. The one unexpected benefit of lockdown is my survivors going on Zoom. I've actually been able to go to some events myself, and that has just been a real pleasure. Some of the poets you'll see tonight have also performed with together. Rich Downs is a favourite. Wendy Young has appeared for us before, but I'm really excited to be able to introduce people like Andrew Ray and Lawrence Rene, and also some of our newer members of the Together Pop Up Poetry Club, including Duncan Bridgestock and Julie Newman. So it's exactly 7 o'clock. So I'd like to welcome everybody, whether you're a poet or watching on YouTube, to the return of the Together Pop Up Poetry Cafe, featuring poets from Survivors Poetry. We've got, I think, 10 poets with us at the moment and more joining us. So we're very simply for now just going to go round and round and get people to share poems. We haven't organised with anybody who's to go first, but I'm going to ask if Wendy Young would feel in an obliging mood, because I just think it would be really brilliant to have her kick it off, because she's performed with both groups and also with many others. And in fact, Wendy, we've got a moment. Why don't you just introduce yourself and tell us the name of some of your books? And everybody else, with your first poem, if you're a published poet or you've got gigs coming up, please do tell us about them.
Hello, lovely to be here with Together Jew and the gang, the family. Um, Yeah, I did. I've got a few poems in Together anthology, um, because with disability arts, I was one of the performers for your shows in Bow Mills, which was brilliant. And yeah, the food, everything. It was just a brilliant night, and the pay too. And then I did do a slot at the Liberty Festival not long after, and then I came back to do some performance skills with the poetry group with on a Wednesday, I think it was Wednesday morning. And yeah, and I've been going to Survivors since 2008, and cut my teeth at Survivors really after trying and trying. And I've got a website, wendyyoung.org, and my latest proud moment. It's been brilliant for me lockdown because, like you do, I've been able to stay at venues longer and on be there on time because I'm not rushing from work and then thinking about getting home and going to work the next day. So I'm working from home, and I don't want to go on too long, but I've done really well with gigs online and stuff published with Magical Women, Joy of Sound, and now my latest, which I'm really chuffed about, is that in the Culture Matters anthology, which is a very socialist left wing website. I've got a poem in the anthology, so I'll read that. Um, and this is called "The Time is Ripe and Rotten Ripe for Change." J.R. Lowell's words ring true today when Tory lumps turn red to grey. Unions exist by the skin of our teeth. Folk forget it's why we are free. 'Cause of people like Lowell, Greenwood, and Huxley, who railed against the Sybarites in the 20s and 30s. Love on the dole was shamed, unforgiven. How dare the lower minions behave as if they're upper echelons? Even the film of 1941 was banned. Greenwood wrote of apprentices at Marlowe's, tricked for years and then dropped. And here we are with 0 hours. Hanky Park's women who pawned and obliged, swapped clothes for scraps, froze. The magic money trees of Grumpole, the lender, who thought it slovenly, hands in pockets in the freezing cold. And Grundy, the bucky, who bought women and got lucky. When Sal's Larry died in a chaotic workers' rally, Sal hardened and learned you get note for being honest. Young lads scraped like curled steel shavings to drop with the detritus to street corners and the dole queue. Today we are ridden with greed and grins of chinless wonders, old Etonians. But the time is ripe, it's rotten ripe for change. Before the working classes lose their fury, going headlong, pell-mell into an oblivious cage, for our champions from another age, rage. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, Wendy. That was wonderful.
Thanks.
I'm wondering, Rich, whether you fancy dipping your toes in the water next. There's a nod there, which is wonderful.
Right, if I can introduce myself then. My name is Richard whatever. I've been acting as a socially engaged poet since about 2017. So I've not been doing it too long. However, I am a committed writer. So I had a fantastic time recently when Wendy put her culture matters was called to matters piece of kind of news online because on that day I heard I had been published in a sister publication called Climate Matters. Um, right, I don't think I'll be reading it today. Right, and so Wendy and I were able to celebrate on the same day. Right, I'm going to read from a project I've been following based on the kind of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And I can't remember which declaration this particular poem relates to. Right, however, it has something to do with property. And in terms of my interest in it, uh, right, we were losing a community property in Crouchend to a Hong Kong corporation with its accounts in the Cayman Islands. We campaigned to protect our community and we lost. So here's my poem about a piece of property. It's called Our Property, No Longer Ours. Our property, our place, is no longer ours. The contract is signed, our names are not there. Our property, no longer ours. Our property, our workplace, our studio, our workbench, our stage, our property, no longer ours. We had a stake, now no stake. Our property, no longer ours. Yet we speak, express ourselves, join in the consultation. Consultation is not engagement. Engagement is not a co-production with our community, with our property, which is no longer ours.
Thank you, Richard. That was absolutely great. I think it would be a nice time now to bring in the first of our Together poets. Robin Surgener, are you here at the moment?
I am indeed here. Yes, good evening.
So I'll leave you to introduce yourself again.
Okay, well, hi, I'm Robin Surgener. Um, I'm sure some of you will know me as a presenter of Unlocked TV and others as Angry Fish, and some of you won't know me at all. Um, but I have a long association with Together, but a longer association with myself as a poet come musician, person. So I'm going to start with something a bit lighter, actually, sort of. And this is called You What, Mate? So, there I am, wheeling down the street, minding me own, doing some thinking, actually enjoying some shopping, alone. A guffaw shatters my reverie. Here, you training for the Paralympics, mate? If only he knew. Such irony, methinks, as I chuckle boldly as if no man has gone here before. I just want to shout, You what, mate? But I guess he's only trying to calm his unease. He wonders if I have a disease. He's not really sure why he felt the need to speak like he's my best mate. I do hope his conscience is appeased. So, I don't want to come across angry or bitter, just a bit bored, hearing the same unique original one-liners repeated over and over in unintentional, unrecognized, unrelenting torture. I have a question. When you walk down the street with your mates, do random casuals query across the street, who's winning the race? She gonna beat you, mate? I just want to shout, You what, mate? Because me and my daughter are both using wheelchairs, which obviously leads to the case that we are accidentally entertaining, just like with the training. I don't want to be ignorant or dismissive or rude, but I would probably attract less attention if I could walk down the street in the nude. A nod or a smile would surely suffice. I don't need to be talked at just to be nice. The basis of this problem is social guilt for the oppression and denial upon which discrimination is built. If we can be seen every day living everyday lives, then the extraordinary will dissipate and the mundane be realized. I can I can motivate, be dynamic. I can even inspire. I can dominate. I can challenge. I can be your leader. But not when I go to Aldi or drive in my car. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin, also known as Angry Fish. So I'm looking at all of the poets in the cafe and I see that Stera Plurger is here. Can I just check, Stera, because I know you need to go to bed. Would you like to do a poem next?
It says, I'm Stera. And what's your poem called? Swimming in the bath. I want to swim in the pool. No, I'm going to swim in the pool. Pool? No, in the bath. No, the door is closed. Don't go out. Wait at home. I wanted to meet my friends. No. I meet my friends on the computer. No, the door is closed. Wait at home. Don't go out. I wanted to be in a show. No. I make films. I'm waiting at home so I don't get sick. And I'm swimming in the bath.
Thank you, Stera, and thank you, Hannah, for voicing that. That's one of my favourite lockdown poems. Right, let's come back to some survivor poets. And I wonder if Andrew Ree or Ray, he can tell me that I'm wrong, would be willing to read next. I first met Andrew just under 18 months ago when Richard invited me to take part in a gig in North London. I love his work and I'm sure you will too.
Right, I'm going to try and do this without my glasses because I think I'm getting a lot of reflection from them. Yeah, I write mainly historical poetry, so I look at some little interesting historical facts and see if I can turn them into a poem. And my specialist area is really Anglo-Saxon England, where quite a large corpus of my poems reside. So today I'd like to do one about an interesting character which we had in Anglo-Saxon times, a mythical creature called the Hag Tessa, from which we get the word hag, often only translated as witch, but when I tell you what a Hag Tessa is, you'll see that you're missing a lot by thinking of a Hag Tessa as merely a witch. A Hag Tessa was they could be individuals or groups. So you're often a group. So Hagtessa could be a group of wild women which ride down from the sky, causing havoc and mayhem. When you went into battle, your magician on the battlefield might summon the Hagtessa to cause havoc amongst the enemy and convince your own warriors that you were invincible. The Hagtessa wore helmets, shields, spears, and ragged garments. And I thought, well, how can, as a pacifist, how can I get a Hagtessa into a poem? So at the time in the news, there was this terrible fungus called Cholera dieback, which is attacking our ash trees. Now, the ash trees are the trees we used to make our spears and arrows from, amongst other things. It's also a very good wood to burn because it burns true. So I thought I'll write a poem and call it Return Ye Hagtessa, and summon the Hagtessa to help us fight the fungus destroying the ash trees. Ye powerful hags of the Saxon hills, rid our forests of their terrible ills. I doth here invoke and call upon thee, ye hags rough ride out, return and help me. O thou cavalcade of women riding, dreadful shield maidens, the battle deciding, defend our ashes from fungal attack, help us overthrow Cholera dieback. The Mitigan whiff, return to us now. Dreadful Valkyrie, protect sacred bough in ragged garments with line linden shield, like devils ride out on tree battlefield. O ye Hagtessa with helmets on head, fill our enemies with thine battle dread. Ride ye loudly through fair forests again, through heathen sky come, cast out the profane. May din of blind spears force fungus to flee. The Norse magic spear formed from ash, the weld tree. Females from beyond, return to help me. May all sacred ashes be fungal free. Thank you.
Oh, that was wonderful, Andrew. It was such a kind of amazing mix of history and Anglo-Saxon and something that's so important today. Okay, so I think we might go backwards and forwards now because we've got quite a few more poets in the cafe. Julie Newman, do you fancy going next? I've been telling Julie ever since I was first invited to Survivors Poetry that she really should come along herself, and she'd not been writing for a while. But since our pop-up poetry club has restarted as a telephone group, Julie has been joining it and writing every week. So I think this is one of the ones you've written at the club, isn't it? I have to say, for anybody who doesn't know, Julie is also the chair of Together and my partner. She doesn't usually live here, but she's been shielding with me. But because we're on different floors and doing different things most of the time, we seem to hardly see each other at the moment.
Thank you, Ju. Is the volume okay for everybody?
Yeah.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, as Ju said, I'm the chair of Together. I'm also a survivor. So I have a great interest in the survivors' poetry. The poems that I have in front of me are basically, they're poems written in 20 minutes during the poetry club. So they're sort of boom, 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 boom. So bear with me if they're a bit like that. That's why. Written in haste. Celestial homesickness is the first one. My eyes closed, my mind drifted as I listened to the song of the shipping forecast. Familiar names of unknown places, carrying me away to dreams within dreams. I swam with the stars and danced on the moon, my feet not heavy, my spirit light enough to carry me up and over the brightness of countless constellations, diving in and out of meteor tails, delighting in the sparks that light the endless sky. And then I play with asteroids, relentless in their pursuit of the path that leads nowhere, looking for partners in their timeless flight around the planets. And as I awoke from the dream, within the dream, I reached back to the stars and the endless dance, longing again to feel the joy of the light and the wonderful belonging in the night of endless dreams, to join in the dance and play with the stars, forever part of the harmonics that form, calling to all, but unheard by many, the glorious song of the universe. Thank you. Thank you. I think I've killed the audience. Oh, hello.
No, it was just a mic muting thing going on. So I shall just say that again. Thank you very much, Julie. Lawrence, I wonder, Lawrence Rene, whether you would like to read next from Survivors.
Well, I don't actually do poetry, but I do a bit of music. Well, I was doing music with various bands. I used to play with Raz and the Baffled Angels, and I used to play with Ingrid, aka Heart Song. And I think last week was the 5th anniversary of her passing. So, in tribute to her, this is like totally off the hoof. I'm going to try and do Let Your Life Speak. Okay, I can't remember the chord. Okay, right. Winter's deep peace, still don't know who we are. After all these years, how we might learn again. Let your life speak, let your life speak, let your life speak.
Thanks, Lawrence. So we are fortunate to have as guest tonight Sahira Khan. Sahira has been working with Together just for a few months, but she's a poet who writes poetry both in her own language of British Sign Language, but also in English. As we have an interpreter tonight, obviously what I've asked Sahira to do is a BSL poem. And Chris, you're going to voice it, aren't you?
I haven't had any prep though, Ju. I haven't seen it.
Ah, sorry about that. Well, let's
I'll voice it over. I just can't be sure it'd be 100% matching and perfect for her. Sorry.
I think it's really important at this point to have a huge round of virtual applause for Chris Burrow, our interpreter, who's the most flexible interpreter I've ever come across. We try her patience and everything else. She's a beautiful interpreter. Of course, we understand if you're just hearing something, it's not going to be the same interpretation. But I think all of us are going to really enjoy Sahira's poem anyway, because the important thing is the sign, not the voiceover.
She can't find it. Bear with her one moment.
Would you prefer I came back to you, Sahira?
Back to you. I think she's looking at the computer now, Juicy. She can't see me signing. Okay, I've got it. Said, sorry, the title of my poem is I Like That. People meet and say hello. Hello. I like that. People meet and help each other. I like that. People care for each other. I like that. People meet and gather and smile. I like that. That's it. Thank you ever so much.
Thank you, Sahira, and I hope we'll be able to come back to Sahira. So from
She said it's nice to meet you all and nice to see you all smile.
I think we're all very pleased to meet Sahira. For anybody who hasn't met Sahira before, she is an actor and TV presenter. You can see her work very regularly on BSL Zone, which is broadcast on the Together channel. She's a poet, an actor, a comedian, and a film director. And she starred and created the character for our WhatsApp Auntie films, which we created with very little notice indeed back in August when Newham was selected to trial the COVID-19 app, and yet there was no accessible information. So Sahira worked absolute wonders and created that film as well. So we were particularly thrilled to discover that she came from Newham. Also from Newham, I can see on the camera is Ellen Goody. Ellen, would you like to read your poem next? And you just need to take your microphone off mute.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, Joss.
Yep.
You okay?
Yeah.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay.
Good to go.
And this is my dad trying to help. So this is called Line Up, and it's based on the film the other night. Line up, waiting for a job. Lots of colours dropping down. Line up, let us have our voice. That's it.
Sorry, thank you, Ellen. Did you say that was a new poem?
It is a new poem, but I based it on your film the other day.
Great. So I'm looking through the other poets in the cafe. I've had a couple of messages from people to say they don't want to read yet. Grace Fundu, I have your name up, but I don't see whether you've got anything switched on at the moment. So I think, oh, there's Grace. Grace, would you like to go next?
Hello. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm ready. Um, this poem is called Let's Fight. Let's fight for coronavirus. Okay, here it goes. Let's fight. Yeah, let's fight. Let us fight. Let us get together. We should not be ashamed. We should not be scared. We should always fight for the coronavirus, and always stay strong and always believe. Never let coronavirus stop you for what you want to do. Always fight for your dream. Always care about, always care about what you do. It's sad to see a lot of people dying from coronavirus, but we pray for those people that are are in the hospital, that they will heal and they will see their loved ones again. As soon we fight for coronavirus, we will meet again. We will see our family, and this will never happen again. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace, and that's a great message to continue on. So one of our favourite poets from the Wednesday morning group is Duncan Bridgestock, and what happens quite often is we read the poems out on our live stream Together Unlocked on a Wednesday afternoon, and Robin Surgeoner, also known as Angry Fish, who we heard from earlier, usually reads Duncan's, so it's a huge pleasure to have Duncan actually present to read one of his own poems. So we're going to spotlight you now, Duncan, and ask you to introduce your first poem.
Hello, I'm Duncan. The theme for this poem was favourite music, and my favourite music is jazz, and this is called Jazz Is. Jazz is my all, my nothing, my thing, my rhythming, my tingling, my religion, my cup of tea, my university, my imaginary friend, my citadel, my dwell, my swell, thou swell, my best friend, my succor, my philosophy, my favourite vibe, my identity, my simple, my complex, which I don't need a psychiatrist for. Thank you.
Thank you, Duncan. And we just joined now by the poet Michelle Baharia, but I'm going to let her get in. I think everybody who's told me they wanted to perform at the moment has had a chance to perform once. So while Michelle's joining us, I'm going to ask Wendy Young if you have another poem for us, please.
Thank you. Lovely hosting you, and it's just been a lovely night so far. Really enjoying it. And I thought from the anthology of 2012 Together, I would read one of the published poems. This is when I was offered amitriptyline. I always refused antidepressants. I was scared of them. It was too proud. But I took one once, and I thought my head was going to blow off. I hated it, so I never did it again. and this is called I Don't Feel Like Tripping Tonight. Imagine going down the kebab shop and letting it all out when the man says, "Yes, darling, what would you like?" I'll have a vent my spleen dish of the day. That's number 666 from the Angry Takeaway. Added E to anger, you've got danger. Take the C from charmed, and you got harmed. Oops, I did it again. Got lost in my harm. Meant to say, take the ch from charmed, and I'm armed. So that's one armed and extremely dangerous, please. I'm not taking a drug with trip in it, whether it's tripping the light fantastic or tripping me up. I'd rather have an angry takeaway. Hope is my drug. Euphoria for me is blasting past bad memories. Here in the moment, I am free, free at last, God Almighty, free at last. Thanks.
Thanks, Wendy. That was terrific. Thank you very much. So we have another poet with us, Michelle Baharier, and I know you want to perform, Michelle. I'll just give you a moment to catch your breath and ask Richard Downes if you have a second poem for us.
But I certainly have a second poem. This one's called Crowded Blue Sky. And I'm somebody who, as a poet, one of my kind of and one of my kind of themes is to follow art instructions as prompts from Yoko Ono. And there was one day she was talking about a blue sky, and I took a bus to King's Cross, and when I got off at King's Cross, I noticed a blue sky, and this is what I felt and saw. Towers and steeples touch and rise high into unknown skies, profane and sacred body, soul, it's a way we often roll. Fighting praise to man and saint, those who are, we who ain't, humane, unholy, lead away, heading for a better day. Advocates winning, activist, we will make a better fist of growing people with a wish, wishing make a better world than this. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Stara, did you want to? I'm slightly going out of order now, but bear with me, I've got everybody's names. So, Stara, did you want to do a second poem next?
So what's it called? Waiting to go out. We are all happy meeting on the computer, waiting to go out. But no, we are not with our friends, not together. No dancing, no going out for dinner, not happy. We are angry and sad.
Thanks, Stara. And I love your expression for angry and sad. I enjoyed that a lot when I saw it on the live stream as well. So next up we have Michelle
Hello? Can you hear me all right?
We don't have a camera on yet, Michelle, which we will need for access. Are you able to switch the
Yeah,
camera
there we
on?
go.
And right, that should be possible to spotlight her now, Josh.
So, hello, and here's a tickle stick. For those of you who know what a tickle stick is, it's my 2 metre stick. Well, welcome to Disability History Month as well. So I wrote something earlier on today because of that, and it's something I don't always talk about because it's quite hard to talk about. It's Disability History Month. I want to throw letters up into the air. I want to invite you to sit with me where you are. See the tears I shed as letters fall. I cannot, do not see, the difference between a 5 or an S or a Z and a 2. Oh dear, I have had to learn all of that. A 3 is not an E. An M is not a W. An a B is not a D. To hell with it too. Mind gets jumbled, my speech gets mumbled, trying to explain dyslexia to a few. I can't play ball and never snooker. I hate netball, but I can't cut out. I can cut out a hockey stick. It took me a long time to learn to read, but the pages of the magic faraway tree waited for me with a disability. Oh no, the invisible status is a hiatus. What's disabled about you, they shout, looking for a sign as if from God. I'm made to feel a fake. Unless you remove my flesh, you cannot see how my disability affects me. So if in doubt, throw the letters into the air. Look up a page with letters jumbled up. It takes me time to sort the L from a 7, the O from a 0. I know there's always a U after a Q. I have to learn by sight and not sound. I am a -8 audio range, and that's before I lost some hearing. Dyslexia, blissexia. I embrace you for my Alexia. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed that, but I thought it might be something appropriate for tonight.
Thank you, Michelle. I certainly enjoyed that. And it's just, yeah, it's such a privilege to have a new poem from you premiered tonight. So thank you again. We will be continuing the cafe after we switch off YouTube at 8. So everybody's going to get an opportunity to continue to read. But next, I've had a message to say that Blake Jarrett Gibbons is willing to have a go. Blake was one of the very first volunteers with Together in 2012. I've watched him on a long journey over the last 8 years, and I know he's got another long journey ahead. It's a real pleasure to have you with us here tonight, Blake. So introduce your poem. Oh, you've got your microphone on mute. Okay, I think Blake is having some signal problems. And we've just got Duncan back on the spotlight. What I'm going to suggest is if I could come to Robin Surgener and then Sahira Khan, and then we will hope Blake has come back again. Now, I've had a very good point made by somebody on the live chat, which is we can still do applause by raising these funny little hands and things and different emojis. I can't actually see any on my screen because we're on a webinar, but please do show your appreciation in a way that you can, even if nobody can actually see you doing it. So, Robin, also known as Angry Fish, what's your second poem?
Okay, I'm going to go with one. I had a couple. I'm going for the longer one and keep the shorter one if I get another chance. So this is actually I'm going for this one because of listening to Wendy's poem. This one is actually called "The Illumination of Hope." Come hither, come gather, come out of the shadows. Come clear your fogged minds, let your inquisition grow. Turn introspection to speculation. Disaggregate all of your no's. Rivulets, streams, tributaries flow to an ocean of hope. Come dip in your toes. High, high, high in the sky, a great ball of fire sustains all that we can see. Is this the light that defines what I do, shapes my future and all that is me? Be sure it brings health and food to our table, but is it the light that forever enables, that shows us the path, that acts as our guide, that puts peace in our hearts, that helps us decide? Do I need this fire to emblazon what is hope? Or is it hope that flames my conscience, my sentience, my aspirations, my morality? Yet hope needs a fuel, a catalyst, a source of ignition. Hope is alive, not simply positive premonition. Alive in our hearts, hope is what gives us fight. Hope is our belief, our truth, our light. Hope is sustenance that nourishes our well-being, that gives us strength in adversity, brings solace to the dying. If music is the food of love, then hope is the song that sings in our hearts, the nectar that sweetens and strengthens and guides us in our path of living lives which fulfill and enrich and give meaning to the lost, that makes us shepherds with staffs, with fog lights and horns, and iridescence which seeks and illuminates every dark corner, challenging every fear, bringing calm where there was none before. It brings us together, a unification of thought, but together we must separate and share what we are taught. Take your enlightenment and shine with an irradiant incandescence. Be the ignition, the fusion, a human spirited effervescence. Be all that is hope, and let hope be all that is you. Open your hearts and your souls, and hope will show you what you must do. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Robin. A big virtual round of applause for Robin. I wonder if Sahira is there to come in again, and then we'll go to Blake. Yeah, do you have another poem for us, Sahira?
Okay, bear with me. 1 minute.
And while Sahira is getting ready, just to remind you, you can show your appreciation in the live chat on both YouTube and here.
Yep, ready now. My Mind is the title of this poem. My mind gives me the first thing that I do. My mind, my thoughts. My mind starts to trickle and create. My mind is peaceful. The pressure on my mind. That's it.
Thank you, Sahira.
Thank you.
And now I know Blake has managed to get back in. So let's see if you've got a better signal this time around, Blake Jarrett Gibbons.
Touch wood, it holds out this time.
And this poem is actually from one of our very first poetry clubs when we moved over to Stratford. And it's actually slightly connected to survival. It's actually a talk of titled Medication. Is this a choice or is this a partial control of life? Taking medication keeps me alive. Well, it's supposed to. How many times have these been changed? Many a time I've stood looking at what is happening, thinking I was my reflection and asked him to change how he would be. If it was a choice, how much would I have to learn to take medical control? It's my choice to agree to these medications. It's a choice that could make me or break me. Getting into the back of an ambulance, not sure what's going on, that's a disconnection from choice. If I made the choice, I may never be back alive. So this partial loss of control allows me to still be alive, and it allows me to be me, allowing me to make choices. That's when I'm not lost in the side effects of medication. So, how much choice do I actually have in my own life? Thank you.
Thank you, Blake. That was very powerful. And again, we can use the live chat on both YouTube and Zoom to show our appreciation. There's a message for Richard Downs, and that's really just a hello, enjoying the poetry from Karen and Eve. Next, I wonder, Ellen, did you want to do another poem? Do you want to wave at me if you do? So take your microphone off mute. And then I wonder, Andrew, whether you would be ready to do another poem.
Yeah. There is one called Happy Birthday, which I wrote for my mum's birthday. It's actually my very first poem that I wrote as a child. The very first one.
Okay, in your own time, Ellen.
That's cool. Happy birthday. Birds are flying, spreading wings. Birds are flying, spreading wings. Bright wings folding birthdays. Flying away birthdays, rocking on the silent waves. Yeah.
Thank you, Ellen. So, Andrew Ray, are you still in the cafe? This is because
Right, yes, I am, and I'm raring to go.
Fantastic.
So, I'd like to keep the same theme going. So, also on the topic of the Hag Tessa, and for any which missed it first time round, the Hag Tessa was a mythical group of supernatural females in Anglo-Saxon times. Now, what's interesting is that even though they were supposedly mythical, there were nevertheless two recorded first-hand sightings of the Hag Tessa in Anglo-Saxon writings. And one of them was by a group of clerics as they rode through a forest. And I've taken that description, which is relatively short and without embroidering it, but just adding in what I know about the Hag Tessa, I fleshed it out slightly. But this is as it's supposed to have happened. Just going to change my glasses here. So the poem's called The Hag Tessa Ride Out. The clerical troop came padding along, riding sturdy steeds on trodden path long, through green shady wood, through vast dark forest. Then thundering in came a frightening guest, a fearsome shrill voice, a terrible sound, pounding heathen hoofs thunder on the ground. Women from the sky ride out in the pack, the helmet beings behind our cold back. We shiver and cringe with nowhere to hide. Their red eyes flaming ever onward they ride, like ghosts of wild wood, thrashing and smashing, riding through forests, thundering, crashing. Mighty cavalcade, women of power, Themitic whiffs make everyone cower, coming up from the right, drawing up beside, flashing spears and shields, screaming on they cried, their three-pronged weapons with scarlet dripping, supernatural terror, branches ripping, shadow shield maidens, such curses they cast, swiftly traversing and rushing straight past, riding in straight line. Hag Tessa ride out, wearing ragged tatters, they scream and shout. Dark shadow goers rip forests ahead, the hags disappear and leave us with dread. Or, as we would say in Hornchurch, where I come from, just another girls' night out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Andrew. That was, I think, the perfect poem to finish this hour. We will be continuing as the Together Pop-Up Poetry Cafe on Zoom after 8 o'clock. But we are now in the process of saying goodbye to our YouTube audience and also our Access support workers. So I'd like to give a huge thank you to Chris Burrow for her interpreting, to Global Real-Time Captioning for the captions, and to Arts Council England who funds the festival, National Lottery Community Fund who funds the Pop-Up Poetry Club, and the London Emergency Fund for the digital access funding. Survivors Poetry will be back with their own lockdown lounges in the new year, which we're all very much looking forward to. The Together Pop-Up Poetry Club runs on a Wednesday morning by telephone. We phone you and we pay for the calls. So if you're interested, just contact me. That's Jew@together2012.org.uk and I will pass that on. But now, as it's exactly 8 o'clock, I am going to say thank you very much indeed for watching to the YouTube audience. The recording with enhanced audio should be up tomorrow. Thank you very much.